The HomeTech podcast is supported by you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support.
This is the HomeTech podcast for Friday, April 24th from Denver, Colorado. I'm Jason Griffin.
And from Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson. Jason, what's going on?
Episode 300.
The big 300.
Yeah, it's exciting, and we've got quite a special show. Definitely a big step out of our normal routine this week. We've got a whole panel here with us of brave volunteers to help us with a grand experiment here on HomeTech. We wanted to do something special for episode 300, and I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this should be fun. This should be a lot of fun. Well, since we're teasing the panel, let's just go ahead and introduce everybody here that we've got in here. And I guess it's not huge. I know Richard was here, but his computer rebooted because that's what they do at the most inopportune times. In fact, that's what I was dealing with before we started. Mine decided it was going to crash, and it's freshly rebooted now, so nothing to worry about. But I know we've got some longtime listeners of the show here, so let's run down and start with you, Anthony. Just introduce yourself real quick.
Anthony Rayner. I'm actually a physician assistant in hospital medicine, but technology is what I like.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah. Looks like next up, Robert.
Hi, Robert Spivak. I'm with DoItForMe.Solutions. We're a systems integrator, smart home company in Gilroy, California, Northern Cal.
All right. And next up, Brendan.
Sure. Brendan Davis, software engineer, totally not doing home tech also in a professional way at all. We work on online video kind of Zoom clone type stuff, but really big into Home Assistant, and just bought our first house a year ago and have been trying to trick it out. So thanks.
Guillermo.
Hey, Guillermo Padilla from Wayne, New Jersey. I'm a full-time global IT director for a pharma company, and also part-time small business owner of a custom integration company.
Cool. Rashid, Rashid's in the chat most of the times, but now we get to see his face. So.
Yes. Rashid, I am a small business owner. I'm a AV integrator in Chicago. Currently on location in Nashville on a job site.
Very cool. And Jay, I think Jay is going to win for the best location award here. So Jay?
Hey, I am in Georgia, and I am in automation or IT as well, working construction company. But I'm just a hobbyist. I enjoy HomeKit and smart things and playing around with both of them.
Very cool. And you are on a golf course as we speak.
I am on a golf course.
And you are on a real golf, and it's not a virtual Zoom background golf course.
There's no fake background. Yeah, it's a real thing. I forgot this popped up on my reminders, and I thought I'd try to connect and see if it was possible. I didn't even think I'd be interacting with you guys. I thought I'd be listening.
Yep, surprise.
So.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jay. We appreciate it. And then Richard popped in here right at the last second. Richard, we're doing introductions right now. That's how far we got.
Perfect timing then. How you doing? Richard Gunther, and longtime friend of the show and occasional guest. I am a writer at the Digital Media Zone, and I help run that site and host a couple podcasts about smart home stuff myself.
Well, this is super exciting. That rounds out our panel of brave volunteers again for episode 300. We appreciate y'all being here. We're gonna come back and do some more round robin stuff later in the show, but for now, we're going to welcome, again, you guys chiming in here. Seth and I are going to jump into some headlines here shortly. Seth, before we did, I know everyone is, presumably not everybody on the call here has young kids at home, but I think safe to assume maybe we have some parents. I see a lot of heads nodding no, so maybe this one will only connect for you and me, Seth, but got a really interesting email, and I think, with COVID right now, everybody's sort of struggling to figure out ways to keep the kids busy. And Seth, I'm kind of getting more interested in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math activities for the kids. And a gentleman named Dave, yourcub.com, happened to reach out because he saw a mention of STEM on one of our previous shows. Got some pretty fun activities here for anyone in the audience listening who does have kids and you're looking for ways to keep them occupied. We'll include a link to this in our show notes. Again, HomeTech.fm/300. Some pretty cool stuff in here, Seth. My personal favorite, he's got one set up, exploding Lego targets with a Nerf gun.
I like that idea. That sounds fun.
I mean, that's the one that got my attention.
Yeah, that's if you're gonna share. Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna have any kind of setup, that's the way to go. That's one of those like viral headlines. Exploding. Yeah, exactly. Let's do that.
Lego erupting volcano. Bridge building challenge he's got here. A marble maze. Frozen Lego figures. Anyways, lots of fun stuff here. We won't stay on this one for too long. I know we've got, it sounds like not a lot of parents, Seth, in our panel here tonight. But anyways, I thought this was a fun story and actually really well done site. So if you're looking for some cool stuff to kind of keep the kids busy, definitely go check that one out.
Yeah, it is a challenge to keep. That's been the biggest challenge with me right now with is adjusting the schedule where I'm parenting during the day. And then like, okay, now I gotta have a time where I'm gonna have to start doing work eventually, and then doing work until late at night. Like it's just been one of the strangest adjustments. And then like now we're doing this. We're doing this virtual podcast here, right? Even my daughter is doing like a virtual like preschool type thing. So it's just kind of a.
That's right.
It's kind of a strange time, but like keeping them busy is big. I didn't. Kids, Jason, get this. Kids have energy.
In breaking news, that's right.
Oh my God. Yeah, like a mile a minute. Like just she could keep going and going and going and going, and then she crashes and gets to take a nap. So there we go.
No
Keep
doubt.
them busy, and these STEM things are pretty cool. Like to see more of this stuff. So yeah.
Well, Seth, speaking of energy, I've been trying to wrap my brain around the new Slack interface. I'm assuming Richard's going to have some opinions here. I'm not sure. Richard, how much have you used new Slack? This was a pretty big update for them. First of all, do you use Slack regularly in your work?
Yeah, it looks like I have about 11 Slack groups actually. So yeah, I use Slack.
Got it. What's your take on the latest update? I know this was a big update for them. It's got some cool new features. I personally haven't found a ton of use for some of these new things. The new sidebar, the new compose function. You know, some of these things I know a bunch of people that I work with are pretty excited about.
Really, I hit show less instantly. Like show less. Don't want to see. Get it out of my way. I didn't want to see this.
Well, yeah, I did that too. I absolutely did that. I think they improved search a little bit. They made it easier to search and define search. I think they've been gradually incorporating the inline editing features, which makes that really nice. Now they're everywhere. The biggest thing that I had hoped they would fix is their awful implementation of threaded conversations, and they haven't. It's no better than it was before. In fact, I'd argue it's worse because the threaded panel now takes over half of your screen.
Yeah, and I've never been a fan of the threads section. I try not to participate in those things, but I do not like the formatting thing. Like I like my markdown, and I know there's a way that you can go turn that on, and I've done it on at least one of my installs, but it doesn't evidently sync your settings between all of the like mobile devices and things I have signed into Slack. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I want my simple Slack that was for nerds back, and then
yeah, Seth was not a big fan when they went to the WYSIWYG editor.
No.
I agree. Threads are probably my biggest area of contention, and just generally, like Slack feels very weighted towards kind of an instantaneous response environment. My current day to day is very. I'm in a lot of meetings, and I'm constantly feel like I'm playing catch up with Slack. And I think in any sort of asynchronous environment where you're not able to respond to things and stay on top of them, and you start to get inundated with a lot of unread messages and unread threads. It to me is very difficult, and I end up having to use sort of a kludged together system of leaving things marked as unread, setting reminders, things of that nature, because I can't always get to everything that I need to get to in the 30 minutes I have between meetings. So I was hoping they'd do more to kind of address some of that, improve the reminder system. for one area is where I see some room for improvement. But I don't know. I see the direction they're going, and I generally like it. It sounds like Brendan and Rashid, you guys were saying what's changed. Have you guys seen the updated interface? Because I know they were rolling this out slowly. But
so post update, my big thing that got me is actually URLs. If you paste in a URL, the markdown formatter will be nice and try to format it for you. It always did that, but they broke it. Now when I paste URLs, our URLs can be very long and complicated, and query strings and hashes and all these crazy things in there. You can't click them anymore.
Oh, wow.
It truncates like halfway through and just like breaks it into 3 or 4 links.
Oh, wow.
So we're struggling over here. Even if you put it in a code block, same thing. So we're struggling over here.
I wonder if you can't use they're on the API side, you can use a little like open bracket. I think the URL is first, and then you pipe the pipe symbol, and then the text, and it's kind of like a pseudo HTML markdown thing that they have. Can you use that?
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff we have to resort to now is that, or trying to use regular markdown. But yeah, otherwise it's slick. I'm also curious, when Discord, that app launched, very similar to Slack, probably a competitor, it looked identical. I thought it was Slack. I thought someone ripped them off. And they also had a really big update last week. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Are these guys, is Slack just running a shadow of Discord?
Interesting. Interesting.
Here I thought Discord was, I don't know, like IRC 2.0.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of bigger companies start to use, not companies, but groups, I guess, start to use Discord, because it was, I guess, primarily gaming focused board. But I've been starting to see like Adobe has creative challenges that they'll run through Discord. And I guess they can manage, how that can work in there and better manage, I guess, more so than Slack, like what gets posted inside of a channel. So I don't know. They're all good tools. You just got to find the right one for your group and run with it. We found Slack pretty early on for HomeTech and started up the Hub channel thing as kind of like, I guess that was part of our first Patreon push. And it's been good and bad for that. Like I wish it had more features that we had access to, but then we have to start paying for it. And if we pay for it, like we have to pay for per member, and it's like what, $25 a member or something. So it just kind of like gets pretty bad to do that. It gets pretty pricey pretty quickly to do anything like that.
Right. Well, we got a heads up from Jay. He said if he drops off, it's because his battery's running low. I think it's because he's got to go play some golf.
Is what I'm got to play it through.
But all right, well, cool. Anyways, I thought it would be interesting to jump into that because that's been a big topic around work. We're so immersed in Slack in my day-to-day that this update has definitely led to some conversations there. But Seth, what do you say we jump in here to some HomeTech headlines?
Let's do it. Due in part to the ongoing coronavirus outbreak, Samsung has announced its 2018, 2019, and 2020 smart TVs will have access to 6 new health and wellness apps in partnership with leading fitness brands Bar 3, Calm, Echelon, FitPath, Jillian Michaels Fitness, and Obi Fitness. I don't know. You can tell I do not know about any of these.
I'd say Obey.
Yeah. Okay, well, later this year, these apps will be part of Samsung Health, a comprehensive fitness platform for Samsung smart TVs that was originally announced at the CES show back in January. Over 250 instructive videos are available now from Bar. So the Bar thing, that's like a yoga slash.
Yeah, Bar 3.
I've seen these classes. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's gone to a few of those here. There's a bunch of those around. Some of these I'm not familiar with. But these are a lot of, it sounds like just fitness chains that they're going to be integrating with. I don't know, like a couple of months ago, I might have sort of ho-hum on this story, but I got to tell you with, the current state of affairs and not being able to go to gyms, everybody's looking for ways. Well, everybody who exercises, I should say, is looking for ways to do that at home and try to stay in shape and not put on the so-called COVID-19 during this quarantine, as we all, well, if you're like me, turning to food, eating through the stress, definitely a thing. So I don't know, maybe the timing's good for Samsung here, as Robert changes his backdrop. you know,
Is that Julian Michaels? I don't know.
The timing may be good. I think generally,
not cool,
you
dude.
generally the whole home wellness thing is, I don't know, it's one of those areas that feels like there could be opportunities, but people still got to figure out the really compelling, like, specific use cases, I think. So, like, is this just a good timing thing, or does this actually have sort of the legs to stand on after things get back to normal?
I think it's great timing. I mean, you can't deny that. I've had some people that I'm acquainted with, like, oh, they're doing yoga classes through Zoom now. Like, this is not like, I think this would have been like an esoteric type thing maybe 3 months ago. And then that now, like, I think announcing this type of thing and having the apps available on the TV, I think they're going to get a pretty decent amount of use out of them. Like, I don't see how it could be a bad thing for them.
Right.
I just want to mention that today Samsung, speaking of coronavirus, mentioned or put out that they'll offer free phone repairs to healthcare providers and first responders through a company called Ubreak iFix. That didn't really help me when about a month after I bought this phone, I dropped it and destroyed the screen. But needless to say, good for them for offering that service at no charge.
Yeah. No, that's a great thing.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of companies come out with goodwill measures these days around. I mean, it's one thing this pandemic that has affected literally everyone has done has been, like, it's made people a lot more understanding. It's like, oh, well, I can't do that because of blah blah blah, or COVID did this, and like, it's like, okay, yeah, all right, I get it. There's nothing we can do. Like, there's no fault. Like, it seems like that little edge of people freaking out about something seems to be gone. So.
Right.
Oh no, that edge is there.
It's coming back.
They're just standing on the steps of the Wisconsin and Michigan capitals.
Right. All 10 of them.
I know, it's crazy. They announced here in Colorado today that I think at the end of this month they're gonna go to like it's not a shelter in place anymore. It's a safer at home measures, and it's kind of a half measure to slowly start opening things back up again. And I got to tell you, it just, I mean, I understand the challenges that shelter in place is creating for people, but the whole thing just feels premature and really scary to me.
I think that's the biggest, the thing that people ask me is, when this all clears and they say it's your green light, you're good to go. Like, are you going to go back out? You know, like, I've seen heads shake already. Like, no, I'm not going to go out to the restaurant immediately. And like the takeout, where you can get takeout, and they're actually, I don't know if they're doing this like where you are, but I don't know how they're doing this here, but you can actually take out like mixed drinks now. Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, Colorado's letting you do that.
Pretty handy. I showed up at our.
Seth's like, I could get used to this.
Yeah, I mean, I showed up at our favorite Mexican place, and I'm like, they had the sign out in the front door, and I'm like, margaritas to go, done. Like, let's get a drink carrier.
They give you a party hat afterwards.
Yeah,
that's right. They need to.
Cinco de Mayo is right around the corner, so.
I mean, I think a lot of companies are gonna change the way. Everything. It's just because, well, for one, you realize that people are able to work from home. Right. And that's one thing. Companies that pay X amount of dollars for office space, WeWork, I mean, all these other companies, they're going to realize that, hey, why do we need this when people can work from home and do their jobs effectively? So that's one thing that I'm primarily dealing with. So,
and how that affects us as integrators could be an interesting topic, like, because you're going to see, I definitely think you're going to see a lot of people want to work from home or prefer to work from home now. And, having stable video conferencing platforms, technology in the home, a home network that can hold up to that kind of thing is probably going to be high on the list of, how do we get that done for our C-level executives, like, how do we make them look good on every video call they're going to be on, even if they are in their home office with, bad lighting and all that good stuff. So I think it's a decent opportunity there that could be had once this thing kind of like goes away to the point that it goes away. We're still going to have this. Like you said, it's going to be a change where people are going to prefer to work from home. So I think that's definitely on the horizon. And bringing it back to the story that we just talked about, work out from home. So
definitely. All right, well, let's keep moving here. The wait is over and the secret is out. Movie ticketing company Fandango has agreed to buy Walmart's on-demand video streaming service Vudu for an undisclosed sum. The video service today reaches more than 100 million living room devices across the U.S., including smart TVs, Blu-ray players.
Never heard
Blu-ray
of it.
players. Game consoles and other over-the-top streaming devices, as well as Windows 10 and Mac computers, and iOS and Android mobile devices. As part of the agreement, Vudu will continue to power Walmart's digital movie and TV store on Walmart.com.
This is big news. Fandango being able to add to their Fandango Now streaming service, which I had no idea it existed.
Neither did I.
I use Fandango all the time. When movie theaters existed back a couple months ago, that's the only way I would purchase tickets. And if it didn't deliver to my phone and show up in the Apple Wallet thing, I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. I hated going up to the movie theater thing and standing in line and everything. And as soon as they offered it online purchases, I was all in on that. So, but I had no idea Fandango Now existed. And now they own Vudu, which is Walmart's big brand of streaming digital movies.
Yeah. Robert, you had a comment in the chat. I agree. Jump in there.
Yeah, there we go. I think we're getting to share wallet saturation with everything, even a few dollars here, a few dollars there. How many subscriptions can the average consumer keep getting with software subscriptions, movie subscriptions, streaming? There's a point where it's just saturated. I think we're reaching that soon.
Totally.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I agree completely. The good news on this is that this is not going to add to your subscriptions. So if you're not familiar with Fandango Now, it is not a subscription service. It is a movie service that is just like Vudu and iTunes and all these other things where you can buy or rent movies to watch. And that's pretty much it. And TV shows and stuff. So they're really just going to be consolidating them in the long term. The good news is that Vudu isn't changing. Everything that you have in Vudu is going to stay in Vudu. They are committed to keeping Vudu what it is and keeping all the features there. Geez, I hope they improve the user experience at some point. But overall, I feel like they have the best store features and playback capabilities of anyone.
Yeah, they started off as a hardware product exclusively for our industry way back in the day. I remember getting super excited about them. We signed up as one of their first dealers, and they had this, I want to say, $400 to $600 box that you could buy, and it would basically they would download the movies that they had to it, so you could watch them at a later time or something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly what their stick was, but basically they were competing with Kaleidoscape. Yeah. So tens of thousands or thousands of dollars, not tens of thousands of dollars, but thousands of dollars on a rate array to store all of your DVD collections versus this $600 or $700 box. It was a no-brainer for a lot of my clients, and they liked it. They didn't last in that hardware space very long, but then they moved. They were eventually went to all software and then sold out to Walmart. So, and they've been running their digital services for a long time. So it's kind of an end of an era for the Vudu thing. Yeah.
It's been a winding road for them.
And they're also the only service that I'm aware of that still offers disc to digital. So if you have Blu-ray discs or DVD titles that you want to convert to digital format, you can do that for $2 or $5 if you're upgrading your resolution.
Right. It's a good service.
Interesting. Rashid, you had a comment in the chat. I think it's interesting, even if it doesn't materialize, interesting thought exercise. Chime in here.
Didn't think you were going to want to hear my voice. But yeah, I laugh about it a lot with my friends, saying that we're going to go full circle. Someone's going to come up with an agreement to put all of these on different channels, if you will, for you to get to different services. And then it will be Comcast and DirecTV all over again. Just an
How we can bundle.
It is, yeah. It is interesting to think about. Does somebody start to come up with some sort of model that consolidates these things? I don't know. It is a very interesting landscape, one we've certainly talked about quite a bit on the show. And I think there's a lot of interesting angles to that idea of at what point do we start to reach full saturation, and the average consumer just can't plunk down their card for another service, even if it is only, $5 or $10.
Well, speaking of being oversaturated and bled dry, Warner Media finally confirmed that HBO Max will launch on May 27th. For months, the company has promised the streaming service would be ready this May, but hadn't revealed the specific date. And when it arrives, HBO Max will deliver 10,000 hours of content, including a handful of launch day premieres. HBO Max will cost $14.99 per month, and it's free. It's a free upgrade from HBO Now subscribers, and AT&T customers will also get free access. So, I don't know. I'm in. I'm already on the HBO Now train, so I'm in on this one for sure.
You're ready to plunk down your card.
10,000 hours of content that I probably won't be able to sift through. Like, we have Disney Plus now, and I just sit there and we're like, are we going to watch? No, we're not going to watch that. We're not going to watch that. Like, you're just like going through like the entire catalog of Disney and Marvel films. It's like, oh, this is, it's really good. Maybe you should watch that. And like, we can't commit to anything. You just surf the lineup until you.
You spend the whole time that you were going to spend watching a show trying to decide what show to watch now. Like, I think we've all experienced that for sure. I have to decouple these things. Like, literally, if I tell my wife, like, I want to watch a movie tonight after the kids go to bed, I will literally try to pick the movie in the afternoon so that by the time we sit down to watch, like, there's none of that, browsing through 175 different titles and then giving up because we can't agree on something.
No, you got it backwards.
Yeah.
When my wife says, do some work, come watch a movie with me, I said, okay, you pick a movie. And when you've got one picked, let me know. And then I'm back in 3 hours later.
And you got a lot of work done.
Yeah,
I like
because
that.
Picking movies, you spend more time trying to pick something than actually watching anything anymore.
That's great.
Jason, I've got a great idea. So you've been talking about making your own streaming service for a long time, right?
That's right. I'm ready.
Yeah, because you're ready for it. You're going to do it. So here's the deal. What you need, and this is very forward thinking concept. What you should do is just get a bunch of movies, and what you'll do is you'll pick those movies for people to watch, and put them on, say, different, I don't know, we'll call them channels, and put them in a linear fashion where you'll have to show up at 7:00 to watch this movie, or you're just not going to. And I don't know, maybe we can put little advertisements in there in between things just to make money.
That's right.
What do you think? Sounds pretty good.
I like it. I think there's some nostalgia there. Right? Like, people just miss that experience.
With the right branding.
This is interesting, Rashid. HBO is the only service that doesn't cache any of the video. I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you're playing on the app and you go to even just scan over to jump to a different part of a show or movie, it pretty much just buffers again in real time. Nothing's cached like on Netflix or YouTube, anything else.
Interesting.
That's kind of insane because, I mean, HBO is notoriously built on BAMTech, which was one of the pioneers in the streaming space. I guess they haven't upgraded.
Right. If anyone in here used the app, it is the most archaic one out of all of them.
Yeah, the HBO app is pretty horrible. I don't know. I wonder if that has to do with like your bandwidth, because I know that you get served different files at different resolutions if you have higher bandwidth, right? So like, I wonder if it's just not caching the higher bandwidth stuff.
No. It doesn't matter if I'm on LTE out and about or on fiber at home with gigabit service. And I didn't notice it right away until my buddy pointed it out because he travels a lot and uses it. And then I started traveling more and using it. And yeah, it sucks.
Wow. Well, yeah, I do know that I do not like the HBO Now app. It's not very good. And the experience of like starting to watch a show and then like, oh, I didn't really mean to start watching this. Like maybe like you can't like clear it off. Like, I don't know. There's no like roles. Like in Netflix, you can have different accounts within your account, if that makes any sense. Profiles.
Well, at least there is an app with Apple TV Plus service that drives me crazy that they don't actually have an app. So you never know what shows are Apple TV Plus or regular or part of their curation. Yeah. It's try to find one thing you're looking for, it's very hard.
Yeah, I've discovered you have to go looking for the little Apple TV channel within the Apple TV app, and then once you're there, you can kind of dig through their stuff. It's not very intuitive either, but I do enjoy both HBO's programming and Apple's programming as well. So I've been happy with those, but especially the Apple one, since I didn't pay anything for it, it just kind of came along with the phone. I will definitely pick up the extra $5 a year or whatever, $5 a month it costs when it comes out for the space one, space movie, space TV show. I can't remember what it's called now. For All Mankind or something like that.
Yeah. I just got back to that actually.
Yeah.
So we were doing this thought exercise. Let me do the podcast publishing math. Yeah. On the episode of Entertainment 2.0 that came out yesterday, and we were just trying to kind of think, does HBO Now and HBO Go, do they still exist in this future?
I don't see how. I mean, they do, but I don't see how they do. If that makes any sense. Like, I think they're going to just abuse the customers of those until they give up and switch over to HBO Max, right? I think that's the idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been a little confused by the difference between I mean, I understand like HBO Now. HBO Go is the one that's tied to a cable subscription. So that's basically if you have cable and then you want to also be able to watch HBO on streaming devices, that's HBO Go. Then they launched HBO Now, which was just the standalone thing. To me, HBO Go, like, because it's tied to that cable subscription, I could see a world where that still exists. HBO Now and HBO Max, those two, I'm super confused as to how they would coexist. That's kind of my take on it, but it'll be interesting to see. I was on the fence about HBO Max until I saw this, Seth. New Looney Tunes cartoons.
Ooh.
I mean, who didn't love Looney Tunes growing up?
Right.
I've seen a few of those, and they're actually well done. They're funny. Like the new they have new artists drawing them, which is it looks all new. It's really cool. So,
yeah, that'll be interesting.
Would recommend.
Just like Fraggle Rock and Apple.
That's right.
TV Plus.
That's right.
TV Plus. Yeah.
Again, some nostalgia there. All right, well, let's move on here to our last headline, and then we're going to have some fun. We're going to get into a lightning round here that we're looking forward to. Final headline: Sonos launched their own streaming radio service, aptly named Sonos Radio. Sonos Radio is a new free-to-use streaming service that's being introduced as part of a software update rolling out this week worldwide. Moving forward, the service will come preloaded in the Sonos app, so it's fair to think Sonos Radio is a starting point that customers can sample before adding other services like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or Pandora.
This was totally, I think this was needed 10 years ago. I would have loved for this to have existed 10 years ago. Because then the worst part about selling a Sonos system was actually like, all right, you've got your Sonos system. Now what do let's put some music. And they're like, I don't have any account with anything. Like I don't have a Pandora, Spotify account. What do you want from me? And then you're like, well, we have like let's just use your email and we'll get you signed up for a Pandora account. And then they'd fall in love with it at that point because Pandora was kind of cool, back then. And but I can see how that would have like prevented Sonos from starting up, like getting more and more of the services that they're famous for on board if they had their own like competing service. Like I'm thinking of HomePod with your Apple Music only interface. Like I don't see Spotify clamoring to get on the Apple HomePod anytime soon because of the way they've kind of like introduced their own service to run on it.
Yeah. Robert, I know you shared this story over in the Hub earlier this week when it broke and had some thoughts about it. Jump in there.
Yeah, I think that the potential here is really longer term. Right now, it's not that exciting, but Sonos is really making a move possibly to be a services provider like Apple and everyone else looking to build revenue streams in the future. So I think they're starting off slowly. The other aspect is they are rumored to be working on their own voice assistant, not to replace Siri or Google, but to kind of have something that can call their own. So it would be convenient when they do that to have a basic music service that, as Seth says, gives you a full solution with just Sonos. So I think it's right that they needed to get everyone else on board before they were a competitor, because they've been neutral. The thing is, now the first time they're competing with some of their partners. So there's a can of worms there in the short term.
Yeah, I'd agree. And one of the things I did pick up on as well is that they're starting off with 100 plus radio channels essentially, but those could easily be like relicensed and repurposed for commercial licensing. Like, so you don't have, you can install a Sonos system inside of like your what they used to call sports bar or hair salon, and have music in there that is, fully licensed, and pay Sonos directly for that service. It's all in one box, an entire music thing in one box. So I could easily see them doing something like that, and doing like a premium music service like Spotify or something. I guess, why not? It seems if Jason can have his own streaming service, why can't Sonos?
Yeah, I'm so unexcited by this. Initially I thought, oh, this will be cool. They'll be doing something that'll take advantage of all the features. They're going to do like a reference model on how radio could work on Sonos, but it is access to linear programming, period. There's no skipping. There's no disliking. You go into a station and you listen to it and you get out, and it's interrupted every 15 minutes or so for station identification on their stations. And then everything else, they have maybe, I don't know, like 30 stations or something like that. And then the other couple thousand are just all of the locals that you can get anywhere around the world that are also on TuneIn and iHeart and everywhere else. So I just don't understand what they're doing here that's interesting yet.
I will say it is a good starting point. Like if you buy the Sonos system, this is a good, like because it's going to be on there when you buy it. It's going to say Sonos Radio and you click that. And my clients around here, if you told them that they could listen to their radio station back in New Jersey, they were all over that. That was the end game. They were done. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
That I think is key.
Well, I think it is actually. I think they're licensing TuneIn and iHeart, so they're bundling. They're really bundling it up. But Seth, you raised a good point about the commercial. I mean, does the Muzak service still exist? I think last I saw it, it was a satellite system. But does anybody actually pay for licensed music, or are they all paying Sonos in the background of their barbershops and salons?
Muzak went bankrupt a number of years ago, but they sold off everything to a company called Mood Music, which does exist now. So yes, the answer is yes. You have to pay ASCAP and BMI for your licensing, and the other one, SC, whatever it is. So yeah, you will need to pay for that. You have to pay for that if you're in kind of public performance areas.
Yeah. If you're a retail or hospitality chain, you are absolutely paying for your music.
Yeah. There was one other thread that Robert touched on earlier that I want to pick back up before we move on, and Brendan mentioned it. Sonos and the voice assistant talk about snips. This is a story that I think probably many people flew under the radar or even forgot about. Brendan, share a little bit about that acquisition.
Yeah. So Sonos acquired the company Snips AI. Snips AI was a local processing. It launched as an open source-ish project. You'd run it on a Raspberry Pi, and then you would have a no cloud voice assistant. They did use a cloud service, I believe, to configure it and get it set up and just do like SSL certs or something between the nodes. But it looked like a really promising local control, something they could embed even directly on the Sonos if they do go their own route. So yeah, current speculation, they're going to take that tech, jam it into the Sonos boxes, and you know what I mean? That's going to be the voice assistant. And then from there, it can just go out to Alexa, Siri, wherever you need. It can do its own thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. November of 2019, I'm seeing a story here from The Verge, is when that happened, in case anyone's curious. So,
well, just a few months ago, Savant at their national dealer meeting, I did not attend, but I saw the feed from it. They are coming out with their own voice assistant also again. So there's a lot of activity of niche or specialty attempts
Yeah.
trying to do it again.
Yeah, it's I think there's at least theoretically a compelling case to be made for more privacy focused local processing and things of that nature. But I know Savant kind of it'll just be interesting to see, because on one hand you can make a case for it, and on the other hand it feels like reinventing the wheel a little bit. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out. But let's what do you say we move on? I think that'll do it for our headlines here. To wrap that up, as a quick reminder, all the links and topics we've discussed on this week's episode can be found in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/300. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter. We'll send you show reminders and other occasional updates about all the great stuff going on here in the world of home tech.
And don't forget, you can join us live in the chat room starting Wednesdays, typically 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find out more at HomeTech.fm/live. And Jason, I have fixed Google Chrome. Google Chrome
good.
now works.
This was a running mystery.
Well, I didn't fix it. You got to fix it. Google Chrome evidently...
if I got to fix it, we're in trouble.
Messed something up? Yeah, well, there's steps to fix it. Evidently, it's a security thing that they did in Chrome 80, I guess. So that's why we saw this kind of like sporadically happen over time. There is basically our server that serves the audio is not secure, but our website is secure. So if there's an unsecure thing on your website, Google Chrome will ignore that. And you can go into your settings per site and change that setting. So there's a little link to the discussion forum and a link on how to do that on the website now that says, right underneath the streaming thing, says Google Home or Google Chrome, no audio. And, do these instructions and you'll be able to,
very good,
to work around it. So now you can listen live when you're on Google Chrome.
That was fun having some additional voices there on our news segment, so we appreciate that. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump in to our lightning round. I know we're an audio-only show, but we're having some fun with backgrounds here too. Apparently, Richard's doing looks like the aquarium thing now. Robert's on a beach.
Is that the?
And we did lose a couple of our panelists. In case anyone's wondering, we had Jay again had to jump off, and Guillermo. So we've got 5 here, and we're going to jump in to our lightning round and again have a little bit of fun with this. So we'll try to move through these questions quick. We got 5 questions, and we'll go around the horn with each of these. And the first question is, you can only have one type of smart home product in your home forever. Now, when I say type, that could be a category. It doesn't have to be an individual product, right? It could be smart lighting or home audio, for example. You can only have one type of smart home product in your home forever. What would it be? We will start with Robert.
Oh, that's easy. Lutron lighting.
Lutron lighting. Good, solid choice.
Super reliable and easy automation. Just set it and forget it. Just never had a problem.
And super functional. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Anthony.
Google compatible smart displays.
All right. Very nice. Rashid?
Lighting. I kept it general. I'll say lighting, but Lutron is my main use.
Got it. Brendan?
I'm going to get a little more specific and say smart central air, because that would mean my house has central air. We're locking that right now.
Good choice. You killed 2 birds with one stone there. All right, cool. And Richard?
Yeah, I didn't know what you meant by type, so I went very specific. I said Lutron Maestro motion sensor switches.
Super specific. I like it. Very good.
Those are actually really nice.
Yeah, I'm not super surprised by the sort of consensus here. I'm not going to even try to be original. I'm with you guys. Smart lighting. If I could only have one, that would be my choice. We finally got some into our home not that long ago, and I just love it. Super functional. We got Lutron Caseta, easy to set up, and we use it all the time.
Well, I'm going to be contrary, I guess, because like if it was one product forever, I can live with flipping my light switches. But I got to say, having a Sonos system, having an audio system in general, but having a Sonos system specifically, I can't live without. Like we listen to music literally every single day in this house. So I think that's going to be my pick.
There you go. Good choice. So this one, biggest home tech, lowercase, HOME tech, or HomeTech, capital H, meaning the podcast, biggest HomeTech pet peeve.
You didn't ask this right. You have to say, Alexa, what is your biggest HomeTech pet peeve?
And, we had a particular panelist in mind for this one, and we'll start there. Richard.
My answer is going to surprise you. And I had a snarky response that I wasn't going to say, and then Seth blew it for me, and I brought it back. Podcasts that discuss streaming services they've never heard of.
Ooh, good. Very good. All right. We'll go next to Anthony.
Oh, that is so easy. So we know that I was on Lowe's Iris and it, of course, died. But it's actually the pairing process when you add devices, to a hub or whatever. But it's just terrible. The only product I've had that was actually reliable was Simply Safe.
Got it. Rashid.
In general, I was confused on this, and I should have asked before we started. I thought that was something related to the show that I had to be annoyed with, and I was like,
No, that can't be.
That was for Richard. I mean, if you have anything, by all means, let
I would
us know.
say in general, my biggest pet peeve with the home tech world is just lack of interoperability, seamlessness. I don't know how to put it, but like just everyone seems to hide or not want to work together right away. So just integration as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Robert, you're up.
Oh, I have to say that my biggest pet peeve is the disappointment with Apple HomeKit, because I want to love it. I want to use it. It's just so far removed from normal Apple quality and capability. It's got the potential to slay everyone out there, but they're just not there yet.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't used it extensively, but my experiences have generally been good. I certainly haven't tried to do too much with it, and I know it's been a slow burn with HomeKit for sure. We'll come to you next, Brendan.
For me, piggybacking a little bit on Rashid, interoperability, but specifically too many clouds. I work in SaaS. There is nothing reliable up there. Stuff fails all the time, but especially when you have to jump between one cloud to another, just to trigger one thing. I see these posts online integrating, if this, then that, and 5 other services just to turn on a light switch. And I'm like, okay, but when one of those goes away. So yeah, too many clouds. I think it rained so hard it put Richard underwater.
Your Rube Goldberg automation system.
Seth, what you got?
I'm going to have to stick with integration as well. I mean, I deal in my day-to-day job of like, my day-to-day is actually programming directly to devices as best I can. So most of the time I'm working with a no latency, connection with a piece of gear. But every now and then I get, have to work up in the cloud, and it's not quite as fun as it is. But yeah, it's a very tough road to convince companies to do integrations, and I don't know why. Like you would think in 2020, here we are, that you'd be able to say, oh yeah, we need an API, and they'd be like, yeah, we're not doing that. So
definitely,
it's a weird thing.
Integration's a big one. A few years ago, this one would have been hands down for me. HDMI. That was like the bane of my existence when I was still an integrator. I feel like that's stabilized a little bit, but we're probably in for another rough ride and Robert's shaking his head no. So he's still grappling with a lot of that. The missed handshakes, all the issues with HDMI used to just give me fits. So that's a big one. But I think, I don't deal with that one as much anymore. Probably the biggest one for me is still just the state of voice and how, especially as an Echo user, that one was for you, Richard. I have to just be so precise with how I say things. And Seth, I love your analogy of a lot of times it still feels like the days of computer where you were command line interface and, have to get your syntax 100% correct or nothing works. And it really feels like that a lot of times with Echo and other platforms, even Siri. So I'm excited for that to get better. Like natural language processing, I think will be a really big deal. Looking forward to that.
Cool. Well, let's get one more here. The hardest home tech project you've ever done. Anthony, I think I know your answer.
Actually, it might surprise you a little bit. When our neighborhood actually had AT&T gigabit fiber placed in the neighborhood, and I called them and said, "Hey, I want it." They said, "You can't get it." I'm like, "But it's right out there in the front of the yard with these big cones." And so the problem I found out is you have to have their required modem, I guess, to identify on the network, and to get any other router to work with that mesh system, whatever, is just a terrible, terrible pain. And right now, like I say, want to get Eero working so I know to work. So then to kind of upgrade to Ubiquity, it's just not solid enough to use secondary firewalls. Looking at PF-Sense and Untangle, it's just a terrible, terrible experience. Because without a good network, nothing else matters.
Yep. So networking is continues to plague you. Robert, what's your hardest home tech project you've ever done?
Oh, that's tough. Probably, well, the most recent one is trying to get a stupid Chamberlain MyQ garage door system working. Just took way too much effort. And bottom line with tech support, as I said, the circuit board in the actual garage opener has to be upgraded. So I kicked it to the curb and bought a $25 gadget solution on Amazon, and it looks like that's going to work out just fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll ditto the garage door opener problem too. None. MyQ, Iris, Habitat, none reliable.
They all want you to go through the cloud to integrate with their garage door openers, which doesn't make any sense. Here's a quick tip for you guys. If you go and buy their little, one of the little garage door opener things, and then take off the button and then solder on the leads where the button is and hook that up to a relay, you have integration now. So it's a little old school way of doing it, but you definitely have to with those new types of garage door systems. Rashid, you're up next. Hardest home tech project.
Garage doors used to be, until I learned that same exact button trick. I was struggling with this one because I've had so many different little issues, but I remember hating doing light touch.
Oh yeah. Well,
it drove me up the wall.
You're you're revealing your age, I think.
Yeah. I actually didn't install the system. I was having to work with it after the client bought a house in Aspen, and we had to integrate it with Control 4.
Yep. Light touch.
I love light touch. One of my biggest prospects is to replace it for them with Lutron.
For something that works. All right.
Lead gen.
Richard, what's your hardest project?
Yeah, mine was installing a Dolby Atmos system because I had to dig through more fiberglass than I've ever been exposed to make that happen. But I wanted to have the true down firing ceiling speakers instead of the reflecting ones I had originally bought and concluded were insufficient. So
fun with retrofit.
Yeah. And Atmos is not easy to do. Like, there's a lot of research and reading you have to do on that to get it set up just right. So yeah.
And a lot of new product you have to buy to make that work.
Well, that too, yeah. And Brendan, coming to you finally.
Sure. For me, it's actually still a work in progress, but we actually built a server that runs in the basement and does license plate detection as cars come in the driveway. Again, so anti-cloud, we ended up buying our own server, throwing it down with the Google Coral so it can do the AI processing, and it's doing all the TensorFlow, detecting, if people are walking down your driveway, so it can send you smart alerts versus just doing motion. So we'll actually get alerted. Funny blip on that though, those work off a confidence score. So at nighttime, all it could see was the license plate. So it didn't know that it was a car. It thought it was a television. It's like, there's a TV marching down your driveway. I'm like, oh no, I better get out there.
That's unintended consequences.
Well, that's pretty good. We've got two more. We're going to blow through these really quick. Oh, wait, Jason, we forgot you. Hardest project.
Yeah, I just keep it quick. When I was still an integrator, we were one of the very first companies to do a 64 by 64 fiber optic Crestron DM system. This was when it had just very first come out, and we did it in a palatial estate in Bel Air in California, and the deployment on that, they ended up having some really deep issue down in the firmware of the networking, the rapid spanning tree protocol, RSTP for the network geeks. There was a problem with the RSTP that it took weeks of painstaking effort re-terminating fiber. The biggest game of whack-a-mole I had ever played, and still to this date. And that was the closest I ever got to like going back to school and studying finance.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, those install stories. I trying to think, the hardest project I ever did was one of those 103-inch Panasonic plasma TVs. And you think, oh, it's a TV. Well, it's like an 800-pound TV. Okay, it's a gorilla, and it was sold with really no idea that you need what it needed, what it required to hang on the wall. And it was basically, me cutting my teeth on that, trying to get it installed on the second floor.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, like there was really no good way to, in a finished house, because what we should have done is just bought the TV early and put it on the construction site and then built the house around it, because it would have been a lot easier than what we ended up having to do. Two cranes.
Wow.
So yeah, it wasn't fun.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah. So moving on to the next question. If you could have any person narrate your voice on your voice assistant, who would it be? Let's go real quick. Anthony?
Well, there's the answer I want to say, but since I'm married, I'll stick with Liam Neeson.
Good choice.
Play
Robert?
it safe.
Oh, definitely James Earl Jones. I loved his voiceovers in those Verizon or Bell Atlantic spots years ago.
Yep. Rashid?
I just realized I've not been muted the entire time, just muted myself. So I couldn't choose between the two, but it's Scarlett Johansson or Morgan Freeman.
Those have got to be probably the most popular ones, I think. That's where I would go to. Richard?
No debate here. Majel Barrett, the voice of the computer on the Enterprise.
Ah, very good, very good. Yeah.
Nice.
And Brendan?
Alexa already beat me to it. Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, that's a good one. Jason, who do you have in mind?
I'm going Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Yeah. It sounds like it's got a mouthful of something.
That's right.
You can barely understand the Scottish accent.
There's just something there. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna stick with Scarlett Johansson. That one's pretty good. The movie Her, I think she kind of did that one really well, and it's kind of like, that's when you think of voice assistants, that's kind of like one of the first things you think of. Nobody picks Siri, huh? All right, and
Paul Bettany was my third choice.
Who was that?
Oh, Jarvis.
Oh no, you broke up. What was the name?
Oh, Paul Bettany.
Okay, got it.
From the Avengers there. All right, so
love it.
Let's see. Last question here, real quick. Yes or no questions on this. And I've got a follow-up to this as well. Will CEDIA happen this year, yes or no? And then my follow-up is, if it does, will you go? And so, Anthony, let's start with you.
Oh, this is not an over-under?
Well, we should put a bet side up.
Well, I say no.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't anyway.
Robert?
I say it probably will be held, but I probably won't go. I'd rather put the funds toward Barcelona.
No, interesting. ISE. Rashid?
I am agreeing with Robert. I'm going to say no, it's not. And if it does, I'm not going to go. I'd go to Barcelona.
Cool. Richard?
No, sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. And I would not be going anyway.
Brendan?
What's CEDIA again?
It's a big giant trade show where you get sick.
But no, I think it will happen, but later than normal. Somehow.
Good. Yeah. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't see it happening this year. I think they'll do something. I'm hoping some sort of virtual, at a minimum, the training. I'm hoping that they'll figure something out for that. I know we're slated to do some workshops, and hopefully they'll get something in place. My money's on no, and if it was held, I'm probably a no at this point, barring some sort of miraculous progress on the medical front with treatments and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, so that would be like the best thing to happen, right? So if something miracle happened, but I'm with most everyone here saying no, I don't think it's going to happen. If it did, I don't think I'd go. Honestly, not this year.
I don't think I've ever gone to Cedia once and come home without at least some sort of cold,
right,
or something, right? Like it just feels like it always happens to me, and it's just, you know, the thought of being in a building with 18,000, 20,000 other people right now is just so far removed from anything I can wrap my head around come September.
And Richard, you were at CES this year, right? Like you went to CES Vegas, right?
I was, and I was supposed to be at South by Southwest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right when this all broke, and you know, they didn't cancel that until the last possible minute. I just don't, frankly, I don't see these things going off as we've seen them until we have a vaccine. Which means I'm also predicting CES is not going to happen.
I would, I agree on that. And I agree that we're still, so the vaccine could be 4 years out because we've only ever produced one in 4 years. That's as fast as we've ever done a vaccine. And if that's the case, then you're looking at these event shows and these types of things not being around in 4 years because companies are going to figure out how to spend $1 million on a booth online a lot quicker than they will, for a show.
Yeah. I mean, that said, I also know that this is hard on companies who rely on these to make announcements. Smaller companies that look to these to be their splash because they themselves don't have a big enough following really need these types of events. So as soon as someone figures out how to do it well virtually, I think that's going to be really important. And I'm curious to see what sort of tools and technology evolves to make that happen.
Yeah.
We're going to get a preview.
Robert.
We're going to get a preview when Apple does WWDC. If anyone can figure out how to do a virtual conference well, I would look to Apple.
I would agree.
I don't know. I think Richard identified the key part of all this. Zoom is great. This is as good as I think we can get right now. Hold on. All right. You click a link, you end up in here. That's easy. But the thing is, what Richard said is key. The tools to have an event with 20, 30, 40,000 people on video conferencing don't exist right now, much less like how to take questions, how to take Q&A, how to break off into sessions for large events. They don't exist. Nothing exists for that. And I don't know that like it's appropriate to have like the same idea. Like let's have a group of 30,000 people gather online. And maybe this turns into like a more long drawn out, show essentially, right? So like you feed and feed and feed and feed, and it's instead of like a rush to get everything done for this one show in September, you have 12 months that are yours as a company to do. So I'm very curious to see how this goes. When what Richard said, when the tools get developed, I think they are absolutely getting developed right now because I talked to somebody who puts a $1.5 million booth on the Cedia floor. I'm not going to say whether they're going or not, but that $1.5 million might not be going to Cedia this year. And that's a huge number to think about. Like if they take that money and put it towards something else, that those types of tools get developed pretty quickly if you put that kind of money behind it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for our lightning round. Thanks for playing along, everyone. That was a lot of fun. We appreciate you again being part of this experiment. So some good answers there. Seth, let's go ahead and move into the back stretch of the show here. I think we might have had arguably the best mailbag of all time in HomeTech history. Seth, I don't know if you saw this one, if you've responded yet. This came from John in Austin. He says, Seth, can I send you a SmartLink HouseLink interface for your museum? In thanks for recommending the show Counterpart. You mentioned the show a few weeks ago. I totally got into it, watched some episodes twice. I've got this old X10 IR interface I can send you to add to your collection. And all he wants is your shipping information, Seth.
It's coming. It's going to join the museum. So yeah, I've got actually 2 of these things coming. Not 2 of these, but somebody else reached out on Twitter, and I'll share that when I get that in. But yeah, the museum is starting to get some stuff. I spent today on the other side of my computer. The floor is covered with garbage, so I'm throwing things out to get ready to make way for more space for the museum, because I think this is going to take up a lot more space than I originally thought.
Yeah, it's starting to catch on. The word is out that you're the curator of all things HomeTech Graveyard, so I hope you're ready for that responsibility.
Oh boy.
Does HomeLink count? I mean, technically, doesn't HomeLink still work?
I guess it does. I guess X10 is what I was thinking doesn't still work, right?
Right. It does still work. It absolutely does.
There's a whole interesting philosophical debate we could have here.
Maybe I what I'll use is this part. As I envision this is one of those exhibits that you walk through that you kind of like get primed. Like this is kind of like where we started, and like it's interactive, and you can use that home link and see the IR bud flashing. So yeah, I think that's the idea. What's that?
Do you have a Pronto?
I do. Oh my god!
I had one of those.
I still have one.
It's like a rite of passage.
Pronto. Do you still use it? That's the question.
Oh, hell no.
Just save a space for Logitech Harmony on that museum shelf somewhere.
Hey now.
We can only dream. We can only dream.
Fighting words. Yeah, I mean, if the Pronto, if the, this is a Freudian slip there. If the Harmony doesn't go away because it's like a completely unprofitable branch of their company, what replaces it? Something has to replace it, because there's really not a great acceptable DIY solution for IR.
Neo until Control 4.
Oh yeah, Neo's gone, and even then, like, was it a direct run an inline replacement for a Harmony? I wouldn't say it was.
Technically, no, I guess it wasn't. Doesn't it work? Didn't it work with those global caches?
No, they had their own little brain hub thing that they used.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it wasn't a direct 1-to-1 replacement with even the form factor wasn't, right. The Harmony, you can go from like having lots of buttons to just basically a screen. So I there's something, I don't know what to say, but there's something that's got to come in there and replace it, or maybe it is the infamous input 0 that replaces it, right? Like that we just use a TV remote and somehow all the HDMI control stuff actually works. Probably not, but we'll see.
One can dream.
Yep.
All right. Well, I got a kick out of that. I literally laughed out loud when I read that mailbag. The word is out, Seth. So I suppose that's a good thing. All right. Pick of the week this week, Seth. I'll kick it over to you.
Pick of the week. Listeners like you, patrons, thank you very much. You guys have kept us going for 300 episodes now. So you officially, like the cover to the Time magazine or something, we'll do it that way. You officially are the pick of the week. Thank you very much for supporting us for all of these years and all of these episodes and making us want to get on every week and sit down and chat about home technology. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Get a little bit sentimental here and echo what you're saying, Seth. We definitely really appreciate everybody who's tuned into the show over the years. It's really cool. Big milestone to be at 300 episodes now, and really appreciate everybody being part of the community, especially to our a panel here tonight that jumped on to join us for this new episode, doing more sort of interactive things like this and bringing others onto the show to chime in some capacity is definitely something we want to start experimenting with over the next 100 episodes. And so we appreciate you guys being a part of this episode. Had a lot of fun. So thanks again.
Absolutely. If you have any feedback, comments, questions, picks of the week, or great ideas for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form.
Absolutely. And as we do every week, we want to, again, echo our big thank you to everybody who supports the show, especially those of you who support the show financially through our Patreon page. If you're not familiar with Patreon, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support, where you can learn about ways to support the show for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 will give you a big shout out on air, but every single pledge We'll get you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day for all sorts of fun conversations about home technology and much more. So we really appreciate everybody who has done that over the years.
Yep. And if you'd like to help out but can't support the show financially, we totally understand that. And we'd appreciate it if you can give a 5-star review on iTunes or positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. Those 5 stars help other people find the show.
Yeah, that wraps up episode 300. Again, lots of fun putting this together. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Seth, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope all of you guys have a great weekend. Hope you're all staying safe and staying well. And we really look forward to, like I said, the next 100 episodes.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for being loyal to the podcast. Been listening since number 1.
Awesome.
That's right. And we appreciate that.
The amount of 300 backgrounds that are popping up.
That's right.
This is great. Very creative, very creative crowd. But yeah, thanks for coming in and helping us out with all this. Everybody here, everybody listening live, and everybody listening in the podcast feed. Thanks very much. And Jason, with that, and everybody else here, well, have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Take care, Seth.